So before we get into the actual how-to, this is everything I traced, and I tried to be as accurate as possible to the original, and it was extremely time consuming. I think for the larger objects, like this bit that's wood, and this bit that's wood, well, didn't quite get it all. Definitely doing the trace is something I want to see. But once you start getting to this stuff with the aluminum, this profile is pretty time consuming, and it only gets worse from there because these objects don't even match the original because there's too many small lines that Revit can't do. So if you want to start simplifying these shapes, that's fine. I'm just showing in the video what you could do if you took the time. And like this one here, it's not highlighting well, but that's one of the little plastic pieces you're going to end up doing. Here's another one. This is already slightly simplified here and here. So make good decisions. I simplified these again because Revit couldn't handle it, and just so you know what I'm talking about now, I'm trying to trace all this stuff, but these lines in here, way too small. This stuff in here, definitely Revit cannot handle that. So if you want to simplify it and create a different shape that does the same thing, maybe just a little rectangle connected to a larger rectangle, that's totally fine when you get to that part. Just please make sure for these main wooden elements, like this one, and well, it kind of goes all the way around, but now that I've added stuff, anytime there's double lines, it doesn't know which one you're trying to click. So these two, definitely get as accurate as you can to the drawing. But you can see this very narrow and complicated shape I've turned into this. So, all right, that's just my disclaimer before we get into the rest of it. And now you can start seeing the actual process. All right, so we're going to try and do a window. This is the one I've downloaded and put on Canvas. It opens two different ways where this window swings in. So this is that version, and then this is just a fixed version of it. They're both on Canvas. So if you look here, there's the fixed window, there's a PDF of it. And so all this is wood, anything with that texture. All of this with these dots inside, that's some sort of flexible sealant. Probably EPDM roofing is the closest thing we'll have. And then all this diagonal hatching is aluminum. This is our glass. We got some spacers with some more flexible sealant. And you can see on the fixed one at least, this comes underneath and attaches here. These little guys are made out of plastic, and they actually attach, it's this whole thing that goes up against the face of the wood, and they just clip in. So you can see this would squeeze in as you're putting on the aluminum and then pop back out once it's in place. There is a DXF version of it if you want to import that into your Revit file. And then here's the one I'm gonna show because it's got more detail. You choose which one you want to do. Same hatching though. You get the steel, the diagonal, these dots in here and here, here, Those are all some sort of flexible thing, more plastic, wood. So download whichever one you want to do. And even within this, if you choose to end up simplifying certain things, I mean, we're going to have to because of limitations of Revit. Some of these curves and lines are just too small, and Revit won't allow you to draw them. So again, I have the PDF and I have a DXF. So I'm going to come into Revit, and the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my first floor, and I'm going to make a reference plane. I'm going to find the midpoint of my opening here. So that says my midpoint, and if you look on the bottom left, it says it's my wall. Great. And now I'm going to call it window sweep. And just for fun, I will drag out this so it's away from my other geometry. All right, we have a reference plane to draw from. Now we need a section cut. So I'm going to come up here to our top ribbon, draw a section. Parallel to that, I'm going to open it up. And so now I'm going to start hiding things I don't want to see. That was just the thing I used to cut my siding with. But, you know, the more we have here, the more crowded it will get as we're creating all these elements. So I'm going to hide that. What is this? Structural framing. Yeah, there's a lot of structural framing beyond here. So what I might do is just come in here. I don't necessarily want to get that header. All right. I'm going to hide elements and see what's left. Okay, so I still have my sill. I have my header. I'll go ahead and hide these two as well. So now I got a fairly clean view to do my profiles from. I can come into the Insert tab, and I'm going to import a CAD. So I'm going to use the one with hatches removed because, for me at least, the more noise there is, the harder it is to make decisions. You're probably going to have this thing defaulted to some sort of auto. I'm going to say manual origin. Preserve layers, keep it at inches, and then I'm going to say open. And here is that DXF. Just going to leave it here for now. And now I'm going to use the move tool. I'm going to get it first down onto the sill, and then I'm going to move it closer because typically your actual window is closer to the exterior. So I'm just going to kind of make a decision where I want that. That's probably a little too far because we're going on our sheathing. All right, I'm happy with that. And now this isn't going to sit directly on here. There's going to be some more wood underneath. So I'm just going to move it again. Now that I have it where I want it, I'm going to come up 3/4 of an inch, and that'll leave us room for some additional material. All right, almost there. I need to create the boundary for when we're making our sweep. So I'm going to come into my east. I'm going to go to architecture, model line. Well, first let me see what this is. All right, I'm going to hide this. All right. And I'm going to pick my plane. So I'm going to make it the opening. And then I'll just pick the actual lines of the opening. Great. So 3D view. I want to grab these. Again, I'm going to hit tab to get the whole chain. And my brain works better when this is a little further away. So I'm going to come back into my first floor view. I'm going to say move. And I'm just going to move them. Oh, let me unconstrain it here. I'm just going to move them like 5 feet away maybe. I don't know. Let's see what 3 feet away looks like. 5 might be overly aggressive. Alright, so now I have something. And if I change this just a little bit, now I'll be able to choose my sweep without it being up against all my other geometry and accidentally picking the wrong thing. So I have all the important elements. I have a reference plane that I have named, really important, a section that looks at that, and then I have my model lines that follow the opening of my window that you can see here. So I'm going to go back to section 1 where I've got our outline. The process is going to be pretty repetitive. But the good news is, as long as the elements don't touch each other and they're the same material, you can do the sweep at once. So this wood and this wood, I can do those both at once because there's no overlapping lines or touching lines. If you take the time to separate this out as EPDM and this is aluminum and this is aluminum, you can do the 2 aluminum pieces at the same time. And then you could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of EPDM all at once because none of them touch each other. All these plastic pieces you could do at once. And we'll get to this in a bit. If you look at the actual pictures, this is far more complex than we're going to be able to put together in Revit. So one of the downsides of Revit, or the limitations I should say, is you cannot draw a line less than 1/32 of an inch. And I have tried multiple suggestions on how to fix that, changing scale, drawing it large and scaling it down. And the only one I haven't tried yet is creating a custom family because that's kind of beyond what this class is about. So I'm going to start with the wood ones because they're the largest and the easiest. I'm going to go to architecture, model line. I'm going to set my reference to the window sweep. I'm going to start just by using pick line and getting all the major ones. Okay, let me undo that. I grabbed the wrong one on accident. So if I click that, no, okay. So be careful which one you're picking. Alright, so now I'm back to that. I don't need to, it's still on the correct reference plane. So even if you have to edit something, don't worry about it. It's pretty easy fix. And I'm going to come back after I've got all these straight lines and do my curves. And this one's not the one I want, so I can either come up here or I can click tab. Alright, now I'm going to switch to fillet, and even with this one that's super short and this, it'll still work. And I'm just eyeballing based on the drawing here. I'm not going to be typing anything in like we did with that zinc roof, because each curve is a little bit unique. So that's a straight. Here we got another curve. And you can see if it gets too small, it's just like drawing a line less than 1/32 of an inch. It will let you know. And so now we got this one. And I don't think these are actually connected. I think I've got all my other curves, so I'm just going to use trim because I don't think they actually did. Alright, and so now if I want to see, did I get this all, rather than hiding my image, if I just come to 3D, I can see, yeah, I've got a complete, and I'll know it's complete because if I hover over one and click tab, it'll give me the whole chain. All right, that's one profile down. I'm not going to bother doing the sweep yet because, like I said, as long as it's the same material and they're not touching, you can do them all at once. So I'm going to come back in here, go back to architecture, model line, same process. I'm just going to pick all of the verticals and horizontals to start, and I'll deal with fillets after the fact. This one's a lot more basic. So there is a lot of tedium in this. Okay, I'm pretty sure I got all that, but again, I'm going to come to my 3D and let that be my deciding factor rather than hiding and unhiding. And then I'll click tab. Yep, okay, I have two successful sweeps, or sweep profiles, I should say. And so now, since I drew these on the bottom, the first path I want to pick is this one when I do our sweep. So I'm going to come into architecture, component, model in place. This is going to be window. is going to be a sweep. I'm going to pick the path. I'm going to start down here. I'm going to say OK. Now I'm going to edit the profile. I'm going to say pick lines. I'm going to do the tab. Tab. Oh. And you don't actually have to hold shift when you're doing. Oh, what's it stuck on now? Unfortunately, I didn't grab these first go around, and if I tried doing the whole thing again, it would give me error messages, so I have to go one by one. All right, so I've got both of them. I want to, great, this is already softwood lumber, so I don't need to change my material yet. I'm going to click OK that I'm done. I'm going to click OK, and now we have our window. And if I come here, this is what it looks like. If you want to use a different wood, you can see on the manufacturer's website that pine is one of the options, but they do use other woods. Totally up to you. All right, so I've got that. Let's come back into our section cut. And so now I got all this. I'm just gonna hide that for now, because again, I want to be able to see cleanly. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to do some of these aluminum ones. And this type of detail is absolutely not going to work in Revit. These connections are too small. I'll just show you what happens if I go model, pick line, and I pick one of these little ones. You see it says can't create line. I've even tried doing this at a much larger scale and then scaling it down, and all it does is it deletes all these tiny little lines and you have to recreate them. So I'm going to use pick line. I'm going to pick my significant ones that I know are going to work, and then make some executive decisions as to how I want to connect those. And even this, you can see it won't do it. So I'm going to leave these out because even if I did this in a diagonal, it wouldn't be happy. So there's a reason most manufacturers have these as a separate drawing from their actual Revit components, because they know Revit can't handle this. All right, I am gonna make some decisions here. I'm gonna start in this view and just go with some fillets because I know I can do that. And once I get, yeah, there we go, I can get that much at least. And I don't know that this is going to let me do it. We'll see. Yeah, as soon as I get there, it stops. So if you just want to connect these using trim, that is a choice. I'm going to try and get this as close as I can. So for this, I'll finish with my fillets first. And even though these are really far away, I can still use fillet. And it looks like 256 is what it's letting me do for a lot of these. But not this one. So same arc, but you can see line is too short. I'm going to have to say model line again, fillet. So now technically it's the same, but I'm not getting that error message. I know this is super exciting. Alright, I've got that. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do here. Got to figure out what I'm going to do here. I think what I'm going to do is go back to pick line and I'll get this tiny, yeah, so it's not even going to let me snap on that one. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line in that area. And now I'll try fillet. Yeah, line is too short. So instead on this one, I'm going to call it and just use trim to connect those. And then I should bring this down further. It's either that or I'm going to actually try and just draw another model line over here. It ends at the same depth. And now let's see. Nope, that's too far. So I'm going to drag that up to here maybe. And now I'm going to try that again. Right. Not going to be perfect, but that is a limitation that you would not run into in something like SolidWorks or Rhino. So I need to do something similar down here. I'm going to just draw a vertical line. Turn off chain here so I can create another. Alright. So first I'll try filleting this corner. Yeah, that's fine. That's a little too much, so I'm just going to go to start here first. Okay. And now I'll trim this. Is this fully enclosed? No, I still have a lot of gaps here. I'll probably just use trim on this one. What do I have here? That's done. Got this. Oh, I need another cap here. So I'm going to try. our good old start end radius. What am I missing? I'm missing this one. And if you're not sure, just come back into the 3D view. And I'm gonna hide that for a minute. So I think aha, I've got one here that's not connected. So that's a chain of walls. That's a chain of walls. Or chain of lines, I should say. Alright, so I can do that shape now. We've got to do it again for the other one. Since they're both aluminum and they don't touch, I don't want to have to do more sweeps than I need to. If you want to do one at a time, your workflow is your workflow. If you want to simplify this even more than I did, that's another option. I do suggest keeping your butyl separate though. Even if you don't get all these fillets in there and you keep more just trim connections and angular, really probably want that separate. Alright, back to my section view. And so now I'm going to do the same thing down here. It's going to be tedious. I will be silent for a lot of it. Okay, I think that is most of it other than cleaning up with trim and making some decisions here. Let me check in my 3D and make sure. Yeah. So, a lot of stuff to clean up, but almost there. So I'm going to start with the easy part and just go to fillet. this is one of those ones that's probably not worth it. So I'll come back and use trim when I'm done with all my other fillets. And I'm just going to trim on that one as well. So now we got some weirdness. Yeah, I might end up just making this more of a straight line connection. What the? Okay. Oh, that's why. I'm just going to trim these, make life easier. While I'm in trim mode, I'll go ahead and come back up here. Don't think I have a horizontal here yet. Oh, I missed that. Okay. Again, this whole area is a mess. I'll come back to this bit. But I will try and get the ones that Revit deems are okay. Nope, not that one. I'll bring that up in the hopes that the line will now be long enough. There we go. Nope, it's still giving me the error message. What do I need? I need it to be at least out here, apparently. So that's the smallest line you can make, 1/32 of an inch. So now that I know that, I will delete this, and we'll see if it lets me use trim. Yep. So now that we've trimmed them, let's see what we can do. And again, line is too short. But I can drag this up. I can use trim. So I'm just going to draw a diagonal line here to start, and then we'll see what it lets me do otherwise. instead, I'm gonna just come in and I'm gonna use our good friend start and radius arc. Just make it look like that. I do need to trim these to each other. Alright, I still have this mess to clean up, I think. And the top one, or did I already get this one? Yeah, I made it just random flatness. I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to make a model line. I'm just going to come across, use trim, and then try and do some sort of fillet. I'm going to come back to start and radius arc. Alright, and now let me check 3D again to see how much of this is complete. Alright, so I've got this lower bit, and I've got this upper bit. I thought I trimmed those. Let me just do it from here. Huh. And the nice thing is, since these are already on a set plane, I can do this kind of thing and not worry about where they're going. Not sure why that's not closed off. But yeah, once you get down to the nitty-gritty stuff, as long, oh, now this is switched apart. I gotta set it back to window sweep. Close that. Close this. So really it's just this bit up here. So I'm going to go back into section 1 and make some decisions. I already have a line there. No. Okay. Now let me see, at least this top bit, if it'll let me, and then maybe even here, although I'm probably going to get an error message. Yep. So for this, I'm just going to go back to trim. Okay. I think that's it. And I'm wrong. Alright, bottom bit. So I'm going to try first drawing a model line. And now I'm going to see about this outside fillet. Okay, we're good. No, we're not good. I'm going to try one more time. All right. All right, if I can get that a little better. And now that's too short. All right, trim it is. Triple check. Now the real test. Aha. We switch to something a little easier to see. There we go. Okay, still got a few more. This is why I said it's tedious. But it's a good way to check. Come to your 3D, making sure you've got a visibility graphic, and there we go. That should be all of it. Brilliant. Now we can do both of them. We're going to use aluminum. So I'm going to do it from here. I'm going to say architecture, component, model in place. It's going to be a window again. It's going to be a sweep. I'm going to pick my path starting at the bottom. Click OK. Now I'm going to add a profile. I'm going to click Tab. Oh, wait, pick line. Tab. And you don't have to hold Control when you're picking lines. You just need to keep adding to your selection. All right, that should be everything. Now I want to switch from softwood lumber. Make sure it's aluminum. Click OK. Click OK. Finish my model. So let me open a new 3D. Let me just duplicate it, but without detailing. Oh, well, that didn't do me much good. back to realistic for a minute. And so now here we get this wood inside, we get this aluminum on the outside. If I come over, to the front, you'll see what we've got. All right, next thing we're gonna do is all that rubber stuff that separates. So I'm gonna save you all the tracing and come back when that's done. All right, I know I said I would come back when all the profiles were done, but because we have some recurring shapes here, it took me a minute to draw this one. I don't want to have to redo it all. So what I'm going to do is hold Control to get this whole shape outline I made. I'm going to say copy. I'm just going to come right down to this next one in the hopes. And now I'm going to say move, because I want to move it around. It's not going to fit perfectly. Let me do this again. And I'm going to use my keyboard just to kind of get it roughly where I want it. Now that I've done that, I can just delete these extra bits and draw less of it. So I wanted to show that on video just to make your life a little easier. But again, I don't want to bore you with every single tracing I'm doing. So I'm going to pause again for a little bit. So you can see from some of these profiles, the limitations of Revit are really making it not line up. So I'm gonna, right, you can see here we've got all of our window stuff. We've got our wood, we've got our rubberized stuff, we've got our aluminum. All of it's been following the exact same sweep path. And I think if I go to my section, even these clips made out of plastic, I've done those as well. So we're still missing a couple things though, right? So this is kind of floating in the middle of the air. And we have space up here as well. And we don't have any glass. So these are going to be a little funkier. We're going to do the glass as just a regular component model in place. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to start with that. And I'm going to say architecture, component, model in place. And we're not going to do a sweep. It's going to be a regular extrusion. So hopefully it's on Windows Sweep still, because that's where we want to draw it. And I'm going to switch this to glass while I'm thinking about it. And now it's essentially these bits here. I'm going to start with pick line. And there's no short line here. Oh, I guess there is. I hit tab enough times and found it. Alright, so I've got these three. Now I'm going to switch. I made a section 2 just so I could see. I was hiding everything in section 1 so that it was clean. And now I have a section 2 where everything actually still exists. So now I'm just going to come up here knowing that it comes up to this bit. And there is no short line this time. So I'll draw one. And now I'll use my trim. Trim this also up here. And the reason I know this is where it lands is that this is the upside down of what's below. This is the spacer. This is the rubberized thing that keeps the glass from hitting any metal. I'm going to do all three at once. I'm going to click tab, get all 4 lines. I'm going to say copy. And the nice part about this DWG or DXF, whichever one it was, is I have real lines to snap to already rather than guessing on a PDF and maybe having something misaligned. Alright, so I've got this, it's glass, I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm just going to come into my west. And let's see. Oh, not my west. Let's try my east. There we go. My east has all my window bits and bobs. And so I'm trying to make it roughly the same overlap as the others. And it'll probably snap. There you go. So now I can say finish. That's our glass. If you look at a header, let me switch to a header real quick, or cell, sorry. You can see all this regular window stuff sits on top of even more things. And if you Google search this, you're going to see a bunch of different ones, but what they're going to have in common is an angle to let rain come away, some sort of interior trim to come to or past your drywall or plaster. And then if you look at the top, you don't have that angling. So we're going to do something funky with sweep. We're going to do the sides and top separate from the bottom piece. So I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to go to my section 1. Actually, I'm going to go to my section 2 to draw it, because now I can see the shape. I want to make sure I'm on fine detail. First I want to look for anything hidden. That's fine. Looks like I'm not hiding anything, but these are kind of in my way. So I'm going to hide that category just so that I can see more easily. So this is the edge of my drywall. The question is, do I want to come out a little? Do I want to have it rest there? But I need to come from here. So I'm going to go architecture, model line. I'm going to pick that window sweep again. I don't have to be on that one view to do it. I'm going to pick this top line to start. And then I'm going to draw this line. I'm going to come from, well, I'll start here for now. And now I'm coming here. And I'm just going to leave it. Yeah, it keeps giving me that. That's fine. And I'll use trim in the other view. All right, so now if I come back to section 1, I should see most of it. I'm going to come to modify, trim. And in this view, we are missing some important stuff. So I'm going to unhide a few things. Right now, my bulb isn't showing up, but I can just hold R and H at the same time. And anything that's hidden will reappear. So I'm going to unhide this. I'm going to unhide this part. Okay, I guess I'll unhide the whole category. So now if I do want to extend, and I probably do want to come past, nah, it's cut to there anyway. But on the inside, if you want to have a little lip, now's the time to decide how much. And I'm going to leave it for now. So I'm going to come back into my 3D. It's a little hard to see, but I can grab it from here. I'm going to say architecture, component, model in place. It's going to be another window. It's going to be a sweep. I'm going to pick my path, and this time, since my model lines are up here, I'm going to start with the top. And then I'll pick these two. I'm going to leave the bottom alone because that one's got a different profile. I'll click OK. I'll say Edit Profile, and now just with this is enough that if I click Tab, if I say Pick Lines and click Tab, now I have the entire shape. Make it out of sash or softwood, your choice. I'm going with sash. Click OK. And now I can finish it. Alright, so that gets me down to our base here. It covers my drywall. It goes out past where our clapboard will be. Now we want to think about this. And if I do this full sweep here, what will happen is it will cut into this. So I want to do a brand new model line in between. So I'm going to come to my east. I'm going to say architecture model line. And right now it's set to my wall opening, which is perfect. If yours isn't, you probably have to go to pick and then find your wall opening you made. So I'm going to leave mine. I'm going to draw a line, and this time it's going to be inside that sweep we just did, but along the bottom. And you can see there's already a model line. It wants to do all sorts of stuff. So now I've highlighted just the one I drew. I'm going to come to my level 1 and hope that it's still highlighted. First floor. Yes, it is. I'm going to say move. And I'm going to unconstrain it and just come out. This time I'll come out 2 feet, so I'm not right up on top of this one. So now for my 3D, I have this one for the full sweep, and I have this one which I'm going to use for this bottom bit, but I'll also use it for my flashing. So I'm going to come into section 1, and I'm going to start drawing a shape here. I'm going to say architecture, model line, I'm going to come all the way to the edge, and I don't have chain on. That's okay. I know it's 3/4 of an inch. And then when I get just past here, I'm going to click, because what I want is an angle, like we saw in that picture. Something that slopes down. And I'm just going to pick, this is 6 degrees. Yeah, 5, 6 degrees. Something that really makes sure water's going to head this direction. And I'm going to find that end I drew, which apparently is right here. I'm going to come up a tiny bit and use trim. Alright, this is my new profile. It's got this drainage. It could come out even further. Let's go ahead and do that. Yeah. And now I'll use trim again. And now we've got a little more room to keep water out of our siding. So I'll come back into my 3D view. I can see it there, it looks fine. Architecture, component, model in place, still a window. It's going to be another sweep, even though it's just the one. I'm going to pick my path, make it this. Now I'm going to edit my profile. Come into pick lines. I'm just going to click tab. Get that whole shape. I still want it to be sash. Alright. And so now you can see that ends here instead of cutting through. Let me switch to realistic just so you can, or actually I think I have 3, yeah. So now this is what we got, right? We got some actual glass. Got lots of aluminum and rubberized stuff, wood. We need to think about moisture. So the last thing I'm going to do before we finish with this window and move on to roofing is the flashing. So I'm going to try and start mine up here and then come down over past. And I'll give it something like 1/8 of an inch offset. So I'm going to come to architecture, model line. I'm going to start by picking this line. I'll pick this line. Model line. Here, I'm just going to draw because it's not cooperating. Actually, let me see. There we go. So I'm going to come out past. And then down past. Again. My mouse is freaking out on me. Now I'm going to use pick line with an offset of 1/8 of an inch. That might be a little big in here. Let's go with 1/16. Flashing is not massive. I'm going to use some trim. I'm going to close this top up with a short line. Now I'm going to go to start end radius arc. give us a little bit of a rounded end. Alright, that's a decent enough shape. If you want to do fillet on here, you absolutely can. So that was 9. That'll be slightly different inside and out. So let me actually just go back to pick line. 1/16. Alright, now I'll trim here to here, here to here. I got my shape. Now I can do our last bit. Go back to 3D. Component, model in place. I'm going to call it Windows. I'm going to make it a sweep. Pick path. Again, I want the short one. I don't want it cutting in to our other stuff. And edit profile. I say pick line, click tab. Right, did that get everything? Is it closed? No. So I'm going to have to manually come in and add these. Alright, now we got our shape. We definitely don't want this to be sash. Come back to aluminum. Click OK. Click OK. Finish the model. And so now we come around this side. You can see we got a nice drip edge here. We got all the aluminum on the outside except for this bit. Suppose you could have made this vinyl or aluminum if you liked. I'm going to leave it like this though. And that is it for practicing our sweep and using this window as an excuse.